I'm standing in someone's basement right now, looking at a water heater that's leaking all over the floor. Homeowner asks me, can you fix it? I could. Technically. But here's the thing, this tank is 7 years old. The repair costs more than replacement. 7 years? My parents had theirs for 25. Yeah. They did. Want to know what changed? There's an $8 part inside your water heater. It's the only thing standing between you and a rusted out tank. And manufacturers decided you shouldn't be able to replace it anymore. Let me show you the scam. Inside every water heater, there's something called an anode rod. It's a metal rod, usually magnesium or aluminum, that hangs down into the tank. And it has one job: sacrifice itself so your tank doesn't rust. Here's how it works. Water is corrosive. It wants to eat metal. The anode rod is designed to corrode first, protecting the steel tank. It's like a bodyguard that takes the bullet. Old water heaters? You could unscrew that rod from the top, pull it out, see how degraded it was, and replace it for $8. Do that every 3 to 5 years, and your tank would last 20, 30 years. I've seen tanks from the 80s still running because someone changed the anode rod twice. But modern water heaters? They started making the anode rod inaccessible. Not gone. Just trapped. Around the early 2000s, something shifted. Manufacturers started recessing the anode rod cap into the top of the unit. Then they'd install the flute pipe directly over it, or position it so close to the ceiling that you couldn't get a wrench on it. Some models welded tabs and brackets in the way. Others put control boxes right over the access point. It's not an accident. I've stood in basements with a breaker bar, trying to get leverage on an anode rod that's technically replaceable but realistically impossible to reach without dismantling half the unit. And here's the brilliant part, they still sell replacement anode rods. You can buy them at any hardware store. You just can't install them. So the rod corrodes away like it's supposed to. 3 years. 5 years. Maybe 7 if you're lucky. And once it's gone, the tank starts rusting from the inside. You get sediment buildup. Leaks. Eventually, total failure. Right around that 7 to 10 year mark. Which, wouldn't you know it, is exactly when the warranty expires. I pulled an anode rod out of a 1987 state water heater last month. The homeowner called because the water smelled weird. Sulfur smell. That happens when the anode rod gets too degraded. But here's the thing, I could actually get to it. Hexagonal cap right on top. 6 inches of clearance. Took me 5 minutes to break it loose, pull the old rod, and drop a new one in. Problem solved. $40 total. That tank will run another decade. Compare that to the ones I see now. I had a call 2 weeks ago. 8-year-old dream. Leaking from the bottom. I already knew what it was before I got there. Corroded tank. Anode rod completely gone. And yeah, there's technically an access point, but it's under a plastic shroud, surrounded by pipes, with about 2 inches of clearance to the joist above. I told the homeowner straight up, I can't replace the rod without cutting pipes and possibly damaging the unit further. At this point, you're better off replacing the whole thing. $1,200. For want of an $8 part. This wasn't incompetence. It was strategy. A water heater that lasts 30 years is a customer you see once. A water heater that dies in 7 years is a customer you see 4 times in the same period. And it's not just the tank they're selling you. It's the installation. The haul away fee. The disposal. The markup on the new unit. A plumber makes maybe $50 replacing an anode rod. Takes 20 minutes. But a full water heater replacement? That's a $1,500 job with profit built in for everyone. The manufacturer. The distributor. The installer. You're the only one losing. And the beautiful part, from their perspective, is that it looks like normal wear and tear. The tank rusted out. That's just what happens, right? Except it didn't used to happen. Not like this. I've got customers still running tanks from the 70s and 80s because they, or the previous homeowner, changed that anode rod a couple times. Those old tanks were built heavier, too. Thicker steel. Better insulation. But even the cheaper ones lasted if you maintained them. Now? Maintenance isn't an option. The part's there, but you can't touch it. So what are your options? First, if you're buying a new water heater, ask the installer about anode rod access before they install it. Make them show you where it is and whether you can actually get to it. If they hem and haw, that's your answer. Second, if you've got an older unit and you can access the rod, replace it now. Don't wait for the smell or the leak. Every year that rod sits in there is a year it's dissolving. Third, and this is the nuclear option, there are companies making water heaters with accessible anodes again. They're usually commercial grade or sold through plumbing supply houses, not big box stores. They cost more upfront. But if it lasts 25 years instead of 7, you're saving money. Or go tankless. Different set of problems, different maintenance, but at least you're not dealing with a steel tank that's designed to rust out. Here's what gets me about this whole thing. It's a perfect example of how planned obsolescence doesn't always mean making things break. Sometimes it just means making things unrepairable. The anode rod still works. It's doing its job. But when it's done, you can't replace it, so the whole system fails. And because it's hidden inside the design, most people don't even know it exists. They just think water heaters don't last anymore. But they did. And they could. If we let them. Next time you're in your basement, take a look at the top of your water heater. See if you can find the anode rod access cap. If you can, and you can actually get a wrench on it, you're one of the lucky ones. If you can't, well, start saving. Because that $8 part you can't replace is going to cost you $1,200 in a few years. And there's nothing accidental about that. How old is your water heater? Let me know in the comments if you've ever even heard of an anode rod before this.